I'm speaking with the 2017 Back on the Rise, Tom Caskey. Kegsy, tell us about yourself. Where do you hail from, mate?
Well, 25 years old. Grew up on a property south of Mitchell. Did my schooling out there. Had a small school called Dunkeld, one teacher's school. Started playing footy or rugby league out there when I was a kid, but then went away to boarding school in Toowoomba, and that's when I first started playing rugby union through high school, and then continued after school with the Toowoomba Rangers club, and still playing for them. The
launch lunch of the tour, people like John Eales, Mark Chisholm, legends from the 1980s from the Undefeated Schoolboys tour. Michael O'Connell was present. Just tell us about your feelings as we walked into that presentation lunch, meeting everyone for the first time, as they addressed the squad, and then some of the highlights from that tour for you personally.
That room was pretty intimidating when you get the calibre of people that you just listed off there before. But I think for me personally, it was more of a feeling of excitement because you're obviously flying out the next day, and I was just pretty keen to get on tour and starting to get to know some of the other teammates. But our third game against Los Torres, I thought that was a pretty special game because they had a fair bit of support out there, and we sort of went through a few paddocks and a few sort of half knocked down buildings, and then it just opened up into this beautiful green, rugby club with a gym and beautiful field and big grandstand, and then to get that win, because that was a pretty good game as well.
I remember talking to their manager actually, and they had no plumbed water into the field, but it was all melted snow off the mountains apparently. So it was a special place for sure.
Never forget the barbecue they put on for us after the game. I must have used 3 or 4 steers just for the couple of rugby teams alone.
Kegsy, one of the more important elements of the tour wasn't just personal and athletic development. This tour we looked at men's mental health, and in particular depression, domestic violence, suicide and substance abuse. When you were coming on tour, what was your perception of the mental health side of things pre-tour, and then having finished the tour, how did that change, if at all?
Yeah, it certainly opened, my eyes up significantly, made me a lot more aware. Like I've obviously heard of the whole, mental health, males' mental health and the whatnot side of things before we went on tour, but I didn't realise, I suppose, until we did some of those sessions. We did a couple of sessions in New Zealand and obviously a couple of sessions in Argentina, but there was one session in particular that I remember, and it sort of made me sit up and think, you really don't know who or when someone is obviously struggling, and I was amazed at some of the fellas who showed great courage, and they shared some of their stories, and that just made me realise that it's a hell of a lot more common than I first realised.
It's almost an opportunity touring with the Stockies to have a look over the fence and assess yourself as a rugby player.
Playing against quality opposition is certainly an excellent judge of where you're at with your footy and how you're playing. I suppose knowing that you can compete at that level certainly helps your confidence, and when you come back to your club rugby and you step onto the field, you know that you can compete at that level. It's just, I suppose, it gets back to believing yourself and having the confidence, because if you played against some of those teams and you scored some tries against some good opposition, then when you come back to your club rugby, you sort of take that onto the field with you, I suppose. Seeing a lot more rugby, and hopefully that can flow through with some of the club footy, and hopefully if there's some of the younger guys that are coming on, hopefully I'll be able to help them after the experience of tour, the experience of the coaches that we had and the players that we had. They've played all over the world, and hearing some of them talk about the game and some of the coaching that they gave us, hopefully can pass that on to some of the younger people in Toowoomba here.
Yeah, that's great, Kegsy. You had the opportunity on tour to take the microphone around a fair bit. What was one of your funniest take-homes from tour?
Oh, there's lots of funny stories. I enjoyed interviewing a few people, and I interviewed Simon Newton a fair bit. I interviewed Bass, and and he was great to interview because you have a bit of laugh and he'd give you some back. But probably the funniest moment on tour would probably be, I think we're staying in Mendoza, and we were doing some forwards were off doing whatever forwards do, kick up a bit of dirt and look up in the sky, and backs were off doing all that, their rough and all the tackling drills that we do. And we're running through a few backline plays, and I remember one of the Windred boys, I'm not sure which one of them, he was playing on the wing, and I went to pass the ball to him because we're doing a couple of backline moves, and I look up and he was nowhere to be seen, and I sort of look around thinking, where the hell's he gone? Mm-hmm. And there was a couple of Argentinian ladies that had bowed him up and were asking for his autograph, so that was probably a highlight of mine. Even Roachy couldn't help himself, so we had to stop and have a bit of a laugh at that.
Any advice to anyone in rural or regional Australia looking to take their rugby to the next level, mate? Yeah, absolutely. If I could give anyone, like you just said, any advice at all, it would be try and get on the tour that I just went on. It was amazing, not just the coaches but the players that have played all over the place. And if you want to have a red hot crack at your rugby, there's so many pathways through the people you meet on this tour. Like obviously our coaches have experience all over the world, but then what I didn't know is like even all the players, like we had players that have played in Spain and different parts of the world. So if you want to further your rugby, definitely try and get on this tour. But if you can't still, then just have the confidence. And if you really think that you're good enough to make it, I'd say give it a crack, pack up everything and move to a bigger place and move to one of the capital cities or something like that. Just try and get noticed a little bit easier. But that would probably be my advice. Yeah, Tom Caskey, you've been gold to the end, mate. Thanks for your time. Thanks, Pete. Thank you. Nice to talk to you.